Well, greetings and salutations, everybody. Welcome to Open Mic here on my YouTube channel. I am, of course, your host, John Campea. Happy 4th of July to all you guys. I hope you have already had a fun and relaxing holiday today, provided you got the day off, of course. I hope you're having a good time no matter what it is you're doing. This, of course, is Open Mic now. Every day on the John Campea Show, our main movie news show, we save a few minutes to take some live questions from the audience, but here on Open Mic, all we do is just all live questions. So, hey, listen, it's the 4th of July, so I figure we'll cut today's show a little bit short. We'll go for about a half hour today, and then I'll let you guys get off and running with the rest of your plans for the evening. So I'm so glad you guys are here. Let's get things started and talk about some movie stuff. All right, first up comes us from Andrew Oldham, who writes, well, Alex Jones certainly predicted a very boring second American Civil War today. I am not sure what it is we're talking about, but I will take your word for it, Andrew. Let's see. Next one comes out from Ben Kenobi, who writes, I meant Ant-Man this morning, not antenna. Autocorrect. No times at local AMC for Friday yet. Should I wait for a day, or does it mean it's not going to be there? Well, I mean, it's possible it's not going to be there. I find it unlikely. I mean, it all depends. Like, in my neighborhood, I have 3 AMCs all within 2 blocks of each other. I'm not kidding. There's the AMC Burbank 16, the AMC 6, and the AMC 8. And certainly not every movie will play in every one of the theaters. So it's certainly possible, like maybe you've got another AMC close to you or something like that. I'm not really sure. I would double check. Make sure you're checking for the right Friday. But I would find it odd, especially if it's the only AMC in your area, that the biggest movie opening in the nation that weekend would not be playing there. What I would do, if you check again and it still says it's not there, I would give the theater a call. Give the theater a call, because, you know, it's technology. It's an internet site. People make mistakes. Sometimes the wrong thing gets uploaded. But I would certainly double check, because I would find it very odd. If it is the only AMC right in your neighborhood and it's not playing there, that seems strange to me. Why else would you be a movie theater if you're not going to play the biggest movie opening that week? It seems odd. So like I said, double check it again. And if it's still not there, give the movie theater a call, because it's got to be there. Ben Kenobi writes, Can I watch Iron Fist episode of Luke Cage as standalone, or would I be lost not seeing the rest of the season? Honestly, I think you'd be fine. Not a lot happens in it. I mean, Luke Cage is frustrated because he's, after this bad guy who's frustrating him, and he's got to try to find out more information, as you would expect is in every episode, right? That's certainly an episode. Honestly, I fully think, you know everything that's going on if you just jump in, because I think the Iron Fist episode is like later in the season, like episode 7, 8, or 9 or something like that. Anyway, you won't know everything that's going on, but I think you'll get the gist of it. I think, because really the main things about that particular episode is the interaction the dynamic between Iron Fist and Luke Cage. So really that's what you're watching it for anyway. So no, you won't get all the details, but it doesn't really matter. I think you'll be fine watching it. I really do. That's just my opinion at any rate. All right. Murray Reich writes, hey, I was wondering about the villain question on The John Campea Show, if it was considered a spoiler, because some people haven't seen Infinity War yet, and you usually wait until after home video. Just curious. I don't know that I considered it a spoiler, because we talked about it. It came up earlier today. Somebody asked in an email, do you think Infinity War would start trends of, bad guys winning, so to say? I think we answered in such a way that was vague enough that I feel like we didn't really say anything that even the average person on the street hasn't heard in passing. And I feel like we didn't go into any details of the movie itself too much to give anything away. So I myself wouldn't consider it a spoiler. I certainly haven't had anybody email me or tweet me or anything like that about it. What I did drop a spoiler on this morning, and I did have a few people write this to me, and they were totally right, and I was totally wrong, was talking about one of the end scenes in Luke Cage Season 2. I just kind of talked about it. I wasn't even thinking. Because I just think differently with television. It's like, oh yeah, it's Netflix. Not everybody watches it all at once, John. And I totally gave away Well, I mean, not a plot point, but something that happens. It's not a plot point, at least, but it was something that happens. And in the last episode of Luke Cage, and I gave it away on the show. And I did have one or two people message me about that, and I'm like, you know what? I can't defend that. You're right. I did. I dropped that. I wasn't thinking. It was totally wrong of me to say that. I apologize. I mean, that's all I can do. With the Infinity War thing, I never felt that. I felt even the question itself was something that the average person on the street who hasn't seen the movie has probably heard in passing. And again, we didn't go into any details of it. So I don't think hearing anything we talked about on the show today would have given away anything major that's in the film. At least that's how I felt about it. Maybe I'm wrong, but like I said, usually, even when I make a mistake by this much, I have like at least a dozen people jumping on me and letting me know about it. And nobody said a thing about it. So I think we were pretty safe on that. That's just how I feel about it at any rate. All right. Owen Curtis writes, just saw Malcolm X, blown away by its epic scope and Denzel's performance. Oh, Denzel's amazing in it. Denzel is just absolutely phenomenal in that movie. I just love it. And you know what? I haven't watched it for a good 5 years. And the last time I watched it was about 5 years ago. And I think it was something related to Denzel was why I went back and watched it. There was something I was doing about Denzel Washington, so I went back and watched a couple of his movies. And I watched Malcolm X again. And yeah, powerful film, one of his best performances. It's hard picking out best performances for an actor like Denzel Washington when he's turned in so many great ones, because he's even good in bad movies. I mean, that's just the type of performer he is. But yeah, I agree with you. If you haven't checked out Malcolm X, you should absolutely check it out. It's a powerful film. It's well done. All right, let's move on here. Cameron Belgrade writes, really excited for the movie Backseat coming out later this year. It's about Dick Cheney and stars Christian Bale. You know what? Christian Bale, let me just pull something, because I think, is it Steve Carell in that? Hold a second. Let's see. Yeah, Amy Adams, Steve Carell. Oh, Amy Adams, yeah, working with Christian Bale again. Steve Carell playing Donald Rumsfeld. I didn't realize he was playing Rumsfeld. That's hilarious. That's great. Sam Rockwell is in it, by the way, playing George W. Bush. Kaylee Spaney's there. Bill Pullman, speaking of guys who play on the 4th of July, the guy who played one of the greatest movie presidents ever. Bill Pullman's in there, playing a Rockefeller. It's really an impressive cast. It's a really impressive cast. And yeah, it looks really good. Now, the movie could be garbage. Who knows? We'll have to wait and see. It's certainly got a really good director in Adam McKay. Got a great cast with Sam Rockwell, Christian Bale, Amy Adams, Steve Carell. Everything's looking top notch. So from the outside, everything looks good. But just because you put all the good pieces together doesn't mean it makes a pretty picture once you assemble it, right? Like, it could be a terrible movie. Let's wait and see. But you're right. I'm looking forward to this one too. This one could be really cool. Okay. Next one comes to us from Manuel Fernandez, who writes, Happy 4th, John. Thank you so much, Manuel. What's your thoughts on the Scarlett Johansson casting controversy? I have no idea what we're talking about. Hold on a second. Let me pull something up here. Scarlett Johansson casting controversy. I have no idea what it is we're talking about. Yeah, honestly, I haven't heard of anything, so I can't comment on it. Sorry about that, man. I'll look it up, and maybe the topic will come up again later, but right now I have not heard of anything, so I don't really know. Murray Reich writes, once the big theater chains like Regal, AMC, Cinemark, etc. have their own subscription service, do you think the smaller ones will follow suit? Well, you know what, Murray? It's kind of funny. Something like a movie club like Cinemark has, something like A-List that AMC has, you would think, at least I would, that something like that would start with smaller theaters. Like, it would seem like it would be the smaller theaters that would have things like that, right? As a matter of fact, I wouldn't be surprised at all if there are like independent smaller theaters around the country that have already maybe had deals like this. Like, hey, get a $20 a month membership to the Superstar movie theater here in Buckland, Ohio. I don't know if Buckland's a real town or not. Here in Buckland, Ohio, and come to as many movies as you want. Like, it seems like that's something that a smaller theater chain would naturally be leading the way in doing, right? So, considering they probably have less lucrative deals for movies with studios than like the bigger chains do. And they probably make even more of their income on things like concession stands than the average movie theater does. It seems to me that that would be a great thing for a small, like a local movie theater that you rely on the business of the people who live in your community. Coming up with a plan like that, it seems like it's something they should do. Now, look, I'm not a movie theater owner. So, I mean, maybe there are some financial realities that make something like that for a smaller theater, or like for either an independent theater or a smaller chain, to make that practical or to make it sustainable. But just on its surface, it seems to me like that would be a no-brainer for an independent or a smaller chain of theaters. It seems like it'd be a no-brainer. I don't know how you can't. Like once, like Cinemark's got their thing, AMC's now got their thing. Once Regal rolls out there, I'm really not. And then you got Alamo Drafthouse getting ready to roll theirs out. I'm sure ArcLight is going to follow soon, including and Landmark Theaters and all. I'm sure they're all going to follow suit. Once they do, I don't know how you can't, or I don't know how you could stay in business not having a similar service. I don't know. Again, I'd have to put more thought into it, but off the top of my head, it seems like that would be something that a smaller chain would naturally want to do. All right, let's move on here. Murray Reich follows up with, have there been movies in the past that were so bad that they had to be pulled from theaters after 1 to 2 weeks? Oh yeah, it's happened all the time. It's happened all the time. One example was, I'm trying to remember the name of the movie. It was while I was at AMC, okay? And there was this movie that was coming out. It's a little horror movie. And it got an NC-17 from the MPAA. And AMC decided to show it anyway. Now, normally, most major theater chains won't show NC-17 movies. But it's their right to show them if they want to. AMC decided to do it, and there was this big kerfuffle that, oh my gosh, AMC is going to carry this movie. And it played in theaters for like 4 days, and AMC pulled it. And you had supporters of the film yelling and screaming, oh, censorship, censorship. But really what it was that nobody was going to see the movie. Like they played it in the first couple of days, and like they had 2 or 3, on average, 2 to 3 tickets sold per screening. So they're like, we could put in a movie that's been out for 4 months and sell more than 2 or 3 tickets per screening if we put some other movie on that screen, and they pulled the movie out of the theater. And 1 to 2 weeks? Oh, I have no doubt. Yeah, look, if a movie's not selling tickets, I mean, it's going to be out really fast. Theaters do not want it playing there. Because remember, the movie theaters make money off people coming into the theaters to buy popcorn and soda. If your movie is taking up one of their screens, and your movie that's in there is not getting people to come into the theaters are going to want to kick you out and put up another movie on that screen that's at least going to get, maybe 10 people per screening. You know what I mean? So that's important. So yes, absolutely. 1 week is rare. 2 weeks is still rare, but not as rare as you might think. But yeah, it happens. It happens. Now, a lot of studios try to put in caveats in the contract saying, it can have a minimum this much of a run. And I'm sure a lot of the films that get released get that deal with movie theater chains saying, hey, yeah, we agree to give it minimum this many weeks of a run. But not every movie, I'm sure, would get that. Like, I'm sure not, the studios wouldn't give every movie that clause in a contract. So, yeah, I'm sure it happens. Okay, next one. Adamus95 writes, the Meg could be good, could be bad. But as soon as Jason kicks that shark in the face, instant 10 out of 10, kick the shark. There is definitely a way for them to do this movie that would be awesome. Like, if they embrace the cheesiness factor, don't go full cheese, but like try to be like a quasi-serious action thriller movie, but at the same time, embrace the ridiculousness of it, acknowledge the ridiculousness of it. And something like Jason Statham punching a shark in the face or kicking a shark in the face or something would certainly be an homage to that. That would certainly work. And you're right. Meg, like the 2 trailers have been different. I really liked the second trailer. I was iffy on the first trailer. I really quite liked the second trailer. And you're right. This movie is very much a coin toss. It could be really delightfully cheesy, fun. It could just be bad and stupid. We're going to find out soon enough. But there is a way, like you're saying, that they can be a thriller and an action and embrace the cheesiness without going full cheesy and find a nice balance in there. If they do that, you'll have an easier time winning the audience over, I think. So anyway, yeah. So I agree with you, man. I totally agree. Okay, let's see here. Thunder Knight 19 writes, which should I watch first, The Room or The Disaster Artist? Honestly, there is something to be said about just bypassing The Room. Because if you bypass The Room, don't bother watching The Room and go straight to watching The Disaster Artist, which my friend Aaron Cummings is in. And of course, we had Aaron Cummings in studio here. In studio. So, don't often refer to my place here as in studio, but yes, you guys remember I had my friend Aaron Cummings in here. So she's in The Disaster Artist. Anyway, there's an argument to me. Now, traditional argument would say, yes, watch The Room first so you understand the source material, then watch The Disaster Artist. However, I think that there's an argument to be made for the reverse. Because if you go into The Disaster Artist cold and just watch The Disaster Artist, a lot of the things that happen will strike you a lot more than if you already knew what was being set up and what was happening in the original film. So I think you set yourself up better by not having watched The Room and just go straight into watch The Disaster Artist. And then once you watch The Disaster Artist, then go out and watch The Room. You're going to want to watch The Room. Like, so many people started watching The Room after seeing The Disaster Artist. It's crazy. But yeah, I would suggest, although there is, like I said, there is a legitimate argument to be made for watching The Room first and then watching The Disaster Artist. Absolutely. But my recommendation would be doing it reversed. Check out The Disaster Artist first and then go watch what it was all about, what it was all based on. I think that's the more enjoyable watching sequence. I don't know. What do you guys think? Jump in the comments section below. Let me know what you think. Like, maybe I'm thinking totally off base on this. Let's see. Next up, Ben Kenobi writes, let's see. Been binging Wings, such a funny 90s show. I'm so glad you're watching that. Nobody remembers or talks about Wings. It is such a good show. And it was in that same era as Frasier and Cheers and like some other and Seinfeld was on at the same time and all that kind of stuff. And right in there was Wings. That got overshadowed a lot, but it was really, really quite good. And the cast of Wings was incredible. Like, if you go back and watch it now, first of all, you had Tony Shalhoub, right? Who was Monk, and now he's the voice of Master Splinter, and now he's in The Marvelous Miss Maisel. That's winning all the Emmys right now. That's an incredible show. You've got, where'd he go? Thomas Hayden Church. That's where everybody started recognizing him. Thomas Hayden Church, who was, of course, Sandman in Spider-Man 3, and he was in Sideways with Paul Giamatti. Where he really got recognized and got his start was in Wings. You got Tim Daly and Steve Weber, Crystal Bernard. It's a great cast and a great show. I love that show, and nobody ever talks about it, except me. I'll bring it up once in a while. So, Ben, I'm really glad you're checking out Wings. Such a fun little show. Thank you for checking it out. I hope you're enjoying it. All right. By the way, guys, I wanted to mention this. Can you guys help me out? Can I ask you guys to help me out with something? Okay. Here's where I need your help. I have now had to explain what happened to my broken tooth about 100 times. Can you guys, and I can't, my oral surgeon is not going to be back and able to fix it until after Comic-Con. So I still got like 3 more weeks of being like this. And I've had to explain so many times in chat boards and in the comment section. Can you guys do me a favor? I'm going to tell the story one more time to you guys. Now, can you guys help me out and take ownership of this? That when you're in the comment section, you see somebody, what's with John's tooth? Can you answer it? Can you fill in the blanks? Just let them know. So here's the gist of it one more time about the tooth. I broke this tooth years ago in one of my classes. I got struck in the face, as happens in these classes. I got hit in the face. It was nothing major. It was just a kind of, and the tooth broke. Okay, whatever. So I went in. My dentist put a crown in it. That was years ago. Then the other week, the crown I was eating, literally, Ann and I were sitting down having a platter of cheese. I was eating cheese and the crown came out. It's like, so now it's like this. I went in to get it fixed and the dentist said, Your previous dentist kind of botched this. There's no way to fix it. Now we got to pull the tooth, put in an implant, put in a screw there, and then put an implant on it to fix it properly. Because it's hard to see, but a bunch of the tooth is still there, right? Just because it was broken. So that takes a specialist. Just my dentist can't do it. Need an oral surgeon. It's going to happen in a couple of weeks. So long and short, I actually broke the tooth years ago, had in one of my classes, had a crown on it, crown fell out, and now I'm just waiting for my oral surgeon to come back so I can get in there and get it properly all patched up. So do me a favor, guys. If you are in the comment section ever and you see people asking about it, can you fill in the blanks for me so I don't have to do it anymore? Because I'm just getting tired of having to do it. Thank you. And they offered me this little thing you put in your mouth. Like it looks like a retainer. I don't even know what the name of it. They offered me this like retainer thing that you put it in, and it's just a fake tooth that sits there. I'm like, can I eat with that in? And they're like, no. I'm like, I'm not vain. I don't care what it looks like for now. I just care if it's functional. And that doesn't sound functional. So yeah, I could have put in a fake thing there, but I'm not vain. If it's not practical, it's not going to help me eat, anything like that, then I said, nah, just screw it. I can go without. Because I don't mind the Canadian hockey player look. So anyway, yeah, there's that. Okay. Let's see. Grandmaster writes, Mr. Rogers will fight the devil in person and win. You're damn right he would. There has just never been a human being like Mr. Rogers. Again, you guys have probably seen my review of it by now, but go watch my review, watch the movie, enrich your soul. It's all I can say about Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood. Watch it. It will enrich your soul. And it'll make you want to be a better person. It's just it's the type of movie that I wish everybody on the planet would watch and learn more about this guy. It's great. And he was not a perfect man by any stretch of the imagination, but oh my gosh. Oh, if more of us had more Mr. Rogers qualities in us, the world would be a better place. Me, you, all of us. It's just, go see that damn movie, man. It's just so good. Okay, let's see here. Aussie Nerd writes, why on earth would I ever watch Star Wars when regardless of the movie, everyone that talks about it are bickering children? I mean, no, it makes it tough. It makes it tough. And that has been one of the big problems I've had with it. Now look, I am a film fan. I'm accustomed to people debating film, people loving film, people hating certain films. That's part of film fandom. And let me be very clear. I'm thinking about making a standalone video on this, so let me be very clear. Not everybody who doesn't like the movie is a toxic fan. Not at all. Lots of people don't like movies. That doesn't make you toxic. That just makes you a film fan. If you watched a movie and it does not work for you, and you say, hey, I didn't like it. I actually thought it was terrible, whether it was the pacing or whether it was the character development or whatever. I just watched the film and it did not work for me. I hated that movie, man. I thought that movie was terrible. That is not being a toxic film fan. That's just being a film fan, right? So as film fans, we're accustomed to that type of discussion. So like I had some people writing to me today. So what, John? Anybody who doesn't like a movie is a toxic fan? No, I was very explicit. That that's not the case. Where it crosses that boundary from just being film fans disagreeing and debating about movies, which is the fun thing to do, man. I love debating movies positively or negatively, whatever, that's fine. However, once a certain segment of fandom starts resorting to personal attacks, to flat out hate campaigns, to verbal abuse, to, let's just call it outright, because we've all seen it, outright racism, sexism, all that kind of stuff. When it comes to if we hate this thing, anybody we see saying they like it, let's attack them. Once you cross that line, congratulations, you've become a toxic presence. You've become a cancer. You've become a part of the toxic fandom. Saying, man, I saw that movie and I hated it. Nothing wrong with that. That's perfectly fine. Move on. And if somebody asks you again, hey, what did you think about that movie? Tell them. I say, I hated it. I thought it was terrible. I felt like I wasted my money seeing it. Nothing wrong with that. Doesn't matter whether you're talking about Star Wars movies, DC movies, Marvel movies, Mission Impossible movies, political thrillers, biopics, documentaries. Doesn't matter. If you're just saying you hate a movie because it didn't, that's part of being a film fan. Nothing wrong with that. There's a difference between that, though, and this segment that's there that is using this situation as a pulpit and a platform to vomit out their racism, their sexism, things like that. There's another part of that subgroup that, hey, aren't racist and aren't sexist, but they've devolved into toxicity too, because anybody who says they do like it, they instantly turn and attack them. They'll participate in campaigns to verbally attack people involved with the film, blah, blah, blah. That's not film fandom anymore. That's crossing a line. That's becoming toxic. You hate The Last Jedi? You hate Avengers Infinity War? You hate Batman versus Superman? Nothing wrong with that. That's fine. It's film. It's subjectivity of film. It's not every movie's going to work for you. Certainly not every movie works for me. Nothing wrong with that. And we can still have fun debating and disagreeing over the movie. And that's great. Part of being a film fan. Where things have come today, there's no justifying it. There's no sticking up for it. And I read these people, well, Kathleen Kennedy, Rian Johnson got on set and said everybody's just racist and sexist. No, they didn't. Quit trying to change the subject. They did not. They were specifically talking about those people who were lobbying racist and sexist things. And you cannot pretend they didn't. They did. Just man up and acknowledge it. But everybody wants to play the victim. Rian Johnson responds to some racist and sexist. Then all of a sudden somebody goes, he's calling everybody racist and sexist. No, he didn't. No, he didn't. No, he didn't. Just stop being toxic. Say you hate the film unapologetically, no problem. Scream from the mountaintops you hated that film. There is nothing wrong with that. And what people who say maybe do like the films need to remember is not to lump in those people, those film fans who just dislike a movie, whether it's a DC film, a Marvel film, a Star Wars film, whatever. We got to be careful not to lump those in with that subgroup that is a bunch of toxic fans. You can't, they're not one and the same. They are different groups. There are people who just hated the movie because they hated it. And we should celebrate that and we should encourage that. That's critical thinking in movies. But then you get this other group that is not that. And we got to be careful not to lump them all in together because they're not all the same. They're different. One is destructive. One is an active, just participating, fun part of being a film fan, which is sometimes loving, sometimes hating a movie. It's what it is. So we got to be careful not to lump those two groups of people together because I've seen people do that. I've seen just lump anybody in together, and that's not fair. It's not fair, it's not right, and it's not productive. So we should not lump those people in together. However, you're right, Aussie Nerd, and the problem is I've had discussions with a lot of people that have just been turned off movies. They're just people who've just been turned off movie fandom because they just see, these squabbling, bickering children. And when you get a director like a Christopher McQuarrie, like a filmmaker like that, an Academy Award winner, who just sees 5 minutes of it, like we talked about this on the show today, and he says to Rian Johnson on Twitter, man, after seeing this for 5 minutes, I don't know how you're still on Twitter. I used to want to direct a Star Wars film, not anymore. Like, when you start getting these filmmakers that are saying that, wake up, look in the mirror. When you're chasing off wonderful people like a Kelly Marie Tran or Daisy Ridley and just saying, I can't even be on social media anymore because the amount of vileness that's in here being thrown at us. You got to look in the mirror and realize what you are. You have to realize what you're becoming. It's basically what you are is like, to use an analogy, this is strictly an analogy, But the analogy is like, see in a movie like a drunken father who doesn't think he has a problem. He's convinced he doesn't have a problem. And then he's got this daughter that he loves, but he gets really mad because he's drunk and he like he's verbally screaming at her and making her feel little. And all of a sudden he realizes, oh my God, what am I doing? That moment of self-realization. I've become that monster. I didn't think I had a problem. I'm realizing I'm sitting here screaming at my daughter, making her feel scared. What am I? That's the kind of realization that a lot of these toxic fans need to come to. A lot of them are like the drunken fathers. They don't think they have a problem. They don't see anything wrong. No, there's nothing wrong with getting on social media and calling Kelly Marie Tran Ching Chong Ching Chang. Nothing wrong with that. It's perfectly fine. Nothing on there calling Daisy Ridley like bitch, cunt, blah, 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 whatever it is you want to say. Nothing wrong with that. It's perfectly fine. There's nothing wrong with talking about this. No. That's what they are. They're the drunk father. And what they need is that wake-up moment to hopefully go, oh my God, what are we doing? Oh my God, what are we doing? We need to stop. We are acting like hideous little cancerous trolls and monsters. We're the villains. They need to wake up and realize that. But anyway, that's just kind of that. Because you're right, it's turning a lot of people off. It's turning filmmakers off. Anyway, let's keep rolling here. I said I was only going to go a half hour, but I went off on that so long. I'm going to keep rolling here for a few minutes. Let's see. Murray Reichs follows up. What are some trailers? Why are some trailers purposely shown too much footage when it will turn off some moviegoers from seeing the film? I think it's because the term too much footage is relative. What is too much footage to you may not be too much footage to a lot of other people. Remember, the purpose of trailers is to sell the movie. And it's an art form. It's an art. And any art is not a science. I mean, you're going to have hits and you're going to have misses. And they're simply trying to put together a promotional package that will get as many people to the theaters as possible. And if you've got a package together that you could say, hey, some people might think this is showing too much, we'll turn them off, but we think it'll appeal to a lot of other people as well, then you put that trailer up. Because your job is not making sure people have a good time once they come to the movies. Your job is to get the people to come to the movies, right? And again, what you say, it depends on the trailer. What I say in one trailer, they showed too much. Another person may say, why? What makes you think that was too much? You know what I mean? So it's a subjective thing. So there's no right answer to that other than to say, hey, they're just trying to make a package that will attract people to the theaters. Maybe it'll turn some people off. That's fine. But, and sometimes they succeed and sometimes they fail. It's an art just like anything else, really. Akeem writes, is acting learned or something born with? For example, no matter how much I practice, I will never have the skill of a Kobe. With practice, I can become as great as Daniel Day-Lewis or Tom Hanks. No, you can't. No, you can't. No matter how much you practice, you'll never be as good as Tom Hanks or Daniel Day-Lewis. I think like athletics, it's a mixture of both. Like, I was just not born with the physical tools to be a all-star professional NBA player. I just wasn't born with the genetics for it. I just wasn't. That's fine. Now, I can practice, and I did when I was in school. I played a lot. I played all-star when I was in high school. Now people know that. I can practice, and I can get good. I could have gotten better than I was. So if I kept working, I could have gotten very, very good. I could have played at least Canadian. I could have played Canadian college. But I just wasn't born with enough tools to go much further than that. You can have all the physical gifts in the world. Without enough hard work, it doesn't matter what your physical gifts are. You're not going to make it. I think the same is true of acting. I think we're all born with certain dispositions and certain gifts and certain talents, temperaments, personalities that make us better towards certain things, not as much towards other things. So I believe you can be born with no natural talent at all and become a decent actor. I do. But like I can become a decent basketball player, yes, but I'll never be a LeBron. I'll never be a Kawhi Leonard. I'll never be a Steph Curry. I'll never be a LeBron James. I'll never be a Michael Jordan. Sure, but I can become pretty good. If you have absolutely not a lick of talent, you have none of the natural giftings for acting, you could still probably become pretty good, but you're never going to be Daniel Day-Lewis. This is just my belief. You're never going to become Daniel Day-Lewis, and you're never going to become Tom Hanks. I mean, because when you watch Tom Hanks, you're just seeing, oh my God, this comes so naturally to this guy. And he works his ass off too. but he was just born with a lot of it. So you combine the born with it, you combine finding your right calling and then working your ass off at it. It's a combination of the two. I don't believe it's any one or the other, to be honest with you. But I believe the absence of one or the other will prevent you from becoming great. You can work really hard, but if you don't have some natural born gifting with it, you can become good, but you won't become great. You can have all the natural gifts, but if you don't work hard, you can become good, but you're not going to become great. So that's kind of the way I see it when it comes to acting. But then again, I am by no means a professional actor. So take that with a total grain of salt. I mean, because I'm just a movie fan giving you my opinion. That's about it. All right. Darth Impact writes, "Hey, John, what is your favorite John Hughes movie? Mine is Breakfast Club. Don't you forget about me." I love Breakfast Club, but it's got to be Ferris Bueller's Days Off. Ferris Bueller's Day Off is the one for me, although I love Breakfast Club. I think that movie is amazing on so many levels. And it's timeless. It feels like it is timeless. So totally dig that movie. Yeah, for me, I'll probably go with Ferris Bueller's Day Off. That's the one. And by the way, John Schnepp is actually in that movie. John is as a background performer. You can see him in the big city dance scene in the streets. You can see John Schnepp in that movie. Kevin Kamaki writes, "Happy 4th of July. It's daylight and already hearing fireworks." Oh yeah, but dude, last night we were hearing fireworks last night. People sending off fireworks, probably testing out their fireworks. You know what's really funny? We have a couple of dogs. And Lily and Shadow. You've probably seen me post pictures of them. But the worst day of the year for them is the 4th of July. Fireworks, they're just shivering and shaking all night. They're just terrified. So they normally stay at Anne's mom's place in Corona. When we go out to Corona on the weekends, we spend our weekends with them. And then sometimes we bring them back here. But on 4th of July, we bring them here because they want to be with us. Because the fireworks go off and they're just terrified and they're all over me. They're like grasping onto me and not letting go. When it's sad, it's sweet, but it's so sad. Your heart breaks for them too. But yeah, fireworks are gonna be going off all day, man. Okay, Magnus Veritas writes, "Given Alden Ehrenreich's skills shown in Solo, regardless of movie ratings, is it possible he could do Indiana Jones prequels? There's a dozen grad school / college novels to draw on." No, I think that would just be ridiculous. You're not the only one to think about that, Magnus. I've had that question asked on this show several times. And no, that's just too schlocky. That's just too schlocky. Look, Alden Ehrenreich wasn't hired to do a Harrison Ford impersonation. He was hired because he gave a pretty good rendition of Han Solo. And I liked Alden Ehrenreich's Han Solo. I did, quite a bit. But that's a different character than Indiana Jones, right? If he was just doing a Harrison Ford impersonation, then sure, put in the Harrison Ford impersonator. But he wasn't doing a Harrison Ford impersonation. I think it would just be far ridiculous. I just think it would be such a shtick, schlocky thing to do. I think it would just make most people just roll their eyes and groan. So no, I wouldn't put him in there at all. I would not put him in there at all. Get another actor for Indiana Jones. You didn't hire Alden Ehrenreich to be a Harrison Ford impersonator, to just go run around, start doing all the old Harrison Ford movies. You hired him because he was good for Han Solo. Now go and get somebody who's good for Indiana Jones. Just because Harrison Ford was a guy who was good for both doesn't mean other people are good for both. You know what I mean? So just because Bradley Cooper was facing A-Team and Bradley Cooper was also in Silver Lining, doesn't mean if you remake them, you have to get the same actor to be in both of those films. No, get one actor to play one role, get another actor to play another. That's just the way I see it at any rate. But hey, man, like I said, Magnus, you are not alone in that thinking. I've had a lot of people ask me about that. So, I mean, that's a popular theory. I don't like the theory personally, but you are in good company. You'll have other people out there who agree with you as well. Akeem writes, Joey Chestnut records 74 hot dogs, American Hero. I read that today. I've watched Joey Chestnut eat. First of all, how is that dude not fat? Okay, that's what I want. First of all, you notice how all the best competitive eaters are these skinny dudes? What the F? How? How do you have a guy, now granted, Joey Chestnut's a big dude, but like one of his main rivals is this skinny little Asian dude. And he's like, down in this food. I'm like, where does this go? How do you do that? Meanwhile, you got these 300-pound dudes that are tapping out at like 40 dogs. I mean, I couldn't get through 6, so I don't know what the hell they're doing. But yeah, I read that this morning. 74 hot dogs. How? How is that guy still alive? I mean, and how is he not incredibly fat? I don't know. It's a marvel. But yes, an American hero. Dim-Sum05 writes, what was the first movie that began Adam Sandler's downward spiral? Mine was Little Nicky. It may have been Little Nicky. You know where the first one that hold on, let me pull it up here. The one that really made me go, oh, it's the one with the remote control. Click. In 2006. I remember that's, not that I loved everything he did before that, but to me it was Click in 2006. And the funny thing about Click is that's a movie that with an identity crisis, because half the movie thinks it's one thing, then the other half of the movie thinks it's something totally different. And the one half of it was actually pretty good. The more dramatic part of that movie I thought was actually working. Anyway, it was the 2006 film Click that made me start to go, is Sandler losing his edge? Because like he had put out some stuff before that wasn't all great, sure, but for whatever reason, it was Click for me that went, something is either starting to feel stale or overdone or just doesn't work anymore. And it was Click that did that for me. Now, the funny thing here is, as much as I've hated everything that Adam Sandler has done comedy-wise in the past 10 years plus, what we went on to recognize is, oh my God, he's got a lot of natural gifts when it comes to dramatic acting. And he's obviously, he's worked as a performer for a long time, and he knows how to transform those base principle lessons of performance and take them from comedy into dramatic and really make them work in the dramatic element as well. And he's so good dramatically. Like, I really wish I understand he gets easy paychecks from doing these schlocky comedies. I get it. But there's a part of me that wishes so bad that he would just ditch the comedy for a few years and focus on his dramatic acting, because the dude is damn good. He's damn good. And I really wish he would do more of that. Okay, let's move on here. Next one comes us from Factual Opinion, who writes, thoughts on Glow Season 2 if you've seen it. I did. I tweeted about it. Didn't like it. It had its moments. That's the thing. It had its moments. And there was a couple of episodes that were really good. If you don't watch Glow, you won't know what this means. When the one girl breaks her leg or breaks her ankle, whatever, that episode was great. And there are certainly other episodes that had really good moments. But I loved Glow Season 1. And to be really frank with you, I thought Season 2 was a big step backwards. Like, I almost stopped watching it after 3 episodes. The first 3 episodes were I felt like, first of all, they backtracked on a lot of the character progression they made in Season 1, I felt like. Now, granted, as Season 2 progressed, they kind of recaught back up to that, but it just felt like they went backwards on a bunch of things. It almost felt like they retconned a couple of things, and it was just a lot slower. And I did not like it nearly as much. Season finale's great. The season finale's great. It's a great season finale. Like I said, there was 1 or 2 other episodes that were pretty solid. A few really shining moments throughout. It's not terrible, but yeah, I was still really disappointed with it, to be honest. And I think part of it is just because I love Season 1 so much. And but you know what? I tweeted about that, and I had a few people tweet to me, because everything's subjective, saying, hey, John, I actually really liked it. That's awesome. And maybe you'll like it too. But for me, it was a bit of a step backwards. Tamos Yusuf writes, if the snap didn't affect the MCU TV, they should just separate. All love for the shows, but they should stop. Okay, Tomas. Okay, I need you to work out your writing a little bit. I need you to work on just use Google or something like that to help you with the translation and stuff like that. when I'm having to struggle through reading it, it makes it really difficult. Anyway, I've been saying for years that they need to just officially say they're separating the MCU from the Netflix MCU. I mean, look, they in no way do they act like they're part of the same thing. They never have, other than a few vague references about the incident. Other than that, they've never practically showed any connection between the MCU and the Netflix universe. Not in any practical, real way. It's always by these vague references. So why bother? What's the point? Like, seriously, what's the point? Just get rid of it. Stop pretending like they're in the same universe. Just acknowledge the Netflix thing is one thing, the MCU is something totally different. Oh my God, and I remember I had people screaming. Do you guys remember this? I had people screaming at me over the internet when I said no. Like, this is going back like 2 years. I said, no, you are not going to see Daredevil in the MCU. You are not, Luke Cage is not going to show up in Avengers 3. This is before we knew what the title was. You're not going to see Luke Cage or Jessica Jones or Daredevil or Punisher show up in Avengers 3. You don't know what you're talking about. And it's like, come on, guys. We all know we all know. We all know these things are separate. There's a reason you never see Iron Man pop up on the Netflix shows or ever even really mentioned by name. There's a reason you're not going to see these guys because they really do they function as separate entities. And I just think they should just make it official. So I'm with you, Tomas, on that. I totally think they should just make it official and just say, hey, guys, yeah, we tried this little experiment for a while saying it's all the same universe, but practically it doesn't work, because it doesn't. Practically it doesn't work. So yeah, they're just two separate universes. Easy. Easy. That's just what they should do, because that's what they're doing anyway. So you might as well just call it what it is. It's like you're hanging out with this girl every night and you're sleeping with her and she's your best friend and all that kind of stuff. But then you go, oh, but I don't know if I want to call her my girlfriend. She's your girlfriend. If she's your favorite person in the world and you're spending all your time with her and you think about her all the time and you're sleeping together and you're making plans about the future together, guess what? She's your girlfriend. Just call her your girlfriend. All right? And that's what I feel like with the MCU and Netflix. Look, in no way, shape, or form do you ever have any practical overlap. You never directly say that they're part of the same universe, really, in the shows themselves. You totally function as if you're two different universes. Just officially say you're two different universes, for heaven's sakes. And make it easy on yourself and make it easy on everybody else, too. All right. Rick Coos writes, John, what was the atmosphere like when you saw Empire Strikers... What was the atmosphere like when you saw Empire Striker and heard that iconic line for the very first time? I'm assuming you say it in the cinema. If you're talking about Empire Strikes Back, I don't know. I remember seeing it. Because I remember the first time I saw Empire Strikes Back, I believe it was my Aunt Pina. It was either my Aunt Pina or my Aunt Lenora. They're both my dad's sisters. It might have been my Aunt Lenora. So my Aunt Leo takes me to go see Empire Strikes Back. And I believe it was at the Tivoli Theater in downtown Hamilton, which is no longer there. And I remember we were just like a minute late. Like 1 minute late. I remember we walked in and the first thing I saw was the Star Destroyer. I think we just missed the opening crawl. First thing I saw was a Star Destroyer and the probe droids popping out and shooting off in all the different directions and following the one as it goes to Hoth. I don't remember anything else from watching it because I was 7 years old. I was 7. So I don't remember what the atmosphere was like. I don't remember my reaction. I don't remember any of that. All I remember about the evening was going to the theater with my aunt. I remember I was super excited. And that opening thing with the probe droids coming out. I remember that. And I don't really remember much else beyond that because I was 7. So I can't really speak to it. I really can't speak to it, unfortunately, Rick Cruz. Okay, Murray Reich writes, my friend of mine is a Browns fan, and he told me to tell you that you should now be happy to be a Leafs fan, unlike his situation. Yeah, I mean, oh my God, the Browns. How many quarterbacks, how many coaches, how many GMs are the Browns going to go through? It is terrible. I remember last year I was cheering for the Browns so hard to win a game. I'm not a Browns fan, but I just remember cheering for them so hard just to win a game. Once we got into the second half or in the last third of the season, it's like, come on, guys, win a game. Yeah, it's awful. And speaking of the Browns, Johnny Football, Johnny Manziel, is actually now, if I'm not mistaken, he's still there, is now on my hometown Hamilton Tiger Cats in the Canadian Football League. So he's playing there now. So there's another little connection between your friend and me, Murray. Okay. Let's see. Tom Growcut writes, England wins on penalties. Football is coming home. You know what is funny? I had this, me and my friend Mac, we were in the car the other day and we were talking about World Cup. And I don't follow soccer that much, except for during the World Cup time, normally only because Italy's in it. And Italy wasn't in it this year, so I had no reason to watch. But still, and we started talking, my friend Mac is a soccer fan. And one of the things I said, it drives me crazy that they even have penalties. If in regular season games, fine, have penalties. Like in hockey. Hockey, they have a shootout in the regular season. But in the playoffs, when the games really matter, you don't decide the game on penalty shots. You play until somebody scores. And I remember watching some NHL. I remember watching this one hockey game that had 4 overtime periods, man. And it was thrilling. Thrilling. When you get into games, that's fine. Regular season with your regular leagues, have penalty kicks. That's fine. But when it really counts, don't end a game on penalties. Play the game. Have it ended by the players deciding the game playing soccer or football, whatever you like to call it. And it kind of drives me. Now, while I am thrilled for England, because I was cheering for England to win, while I was thrilled for England, it's still frustrating. It would have been better and more satisfying and more of a real win if they had actually won it by playing the game and scoring before the other team did. That would have made it better. But I am happy for England. I'm super happy for England that they won the game. I am. Again, I just don't like penalties at all. ZOMG Ruler writes, don't haters win if DC reboots? I enjoy it mostly. No, they don't win. Doing what is best for your company does not make other people win. That's ridiculous. No, ZOMG, that's totally ridiculous. It doesn't mean the haters win. It doesn't mean the haters win at all. You do what makes the best, highest quality, most successful thing for your franchise. That's what you do. You know who wins if you do that? You win. That's who wins. The haters didn't win when Spider-Man decided to reboot. Sony won. We won. Everybody won. Everybody wins. It's not about winners and losers. Like, oh, we can't reboot, but it would be best for our business. Yeah, but it would mean that the haters win. No, it doesn't. If you do what is best for your franchise and you do what is best for your business and you take the steps you need to take to put out the highest quality product possible to make everybody happy and you succeed, you win. The haters don't win. You win. You know how the haters win? If you just keep putting out stuff that nobody's interested in. That's when the haters win. You know, people who love to celebrate cheering on the failure of DC, they would love nothing more than DC just to keep doing what they're doing. That's what they would love. Like, then you get something like me. Some people think I hate DC. I don't. I really like DC. I've given a positive review to every single DCEU movie. I like DC. I'm unapologetic about that. But I also believe the best thing for them to do is reboot. What the haters want is for them to just keep failing. They want them to keep putting out Justice Leagues that don't measure up anywhere near their potential and keep turning tons of people off. That's what the haters want. The haters don't want them to reboot and start having bigger success and having more people coming back to the theater to watch them. That's not what the haters want. So no. If DC, and I don't know that they're going to reboot, I'm starting to suspect that they're not. However, if DC rebooted their universe, got it back on stronger footing, got the audience reinvested in them again, and started putting out some quality stuff that more audience members started to enjoy, then they win, not the haters. You keep doing what you're doing, then the haters win. But anyway, that's just kind of the way I see it at any rate. Let's see. Warrington Train Spotter 2778 writes, Happy 4th of July, John. Bought the classic movie Zulu. Oh, Zulu's so good. I haven't seen that in so long. My question is, do you think there is still a place for movies based on past historic events like 12 Years a Slave, etc.? Love the show. Oh, I absolutely believe there's a place for it. Absolutely I do. Look, people who don't learn the past, you know the old saying, people who don't learn from the past are doomed to repeat it. I think even some of the dumber things in our history are things we should look at. I really do. History is the greatest teacher because history is filled with success and filled with failure. History is the greatest teacher, and cultures that refuse to learn history are doomed to repeat it. I totally believe in that axiom. I really do. I think it's totally true. So yes, now you've got to be careful with how you portray those things and try to be as real as possible and all that kind of stuff. But I believe there's a lot of lessons to be learned from that stuff. Even some of our biggest goof-ups in history, I think there are things there to learn from, to be to have a real theatrical experience with. I just think there's a lot of stuff there for that. So yeah, I'm absolutely on board with that, Warrington, completely, 100%. I'm on board with that. I really do believe there's a place for that. Obviously, again, you need to be careful how you portray some of those things, because a lot of things that we'd be portraying with historical films are massively botched things we've done in our history. Then portray it as that. And, and let's be engaged with it as a movie fan, and let's learn from it as a culture, because absolutely, with history, even our bad history, you don't cover it up. You embrace it, watch it, learn from it, and hopefully never repeat it again. And I think movies are a part of that. I really do. And so yeah, Warrington, I do believe there's still a place for those and still great value in doing that. I really do. All right. Let's see. Last couple of questions here. I said we were going to keep it today to a half hour, but I wanted to take all your guys' questions. Okay, so Tom Grucut writes, I'm having 6 implants. Thank God for the NHS. Yeah, implants, not a lot of fun. Not a lot of fun. I've never had an implant done. I've had some things getting ready for prep, but I've never had the complete implant procedure done. I'm going to have to get that done here. A little bit nervous about it, I'll be honest with you, but I got to get it done because eating is really, first of all, talking. I don't know if you can fully understand this. The way we learn to talk, we are accustomed to moving our lips in such a way that we know air stops coming out when we do this, when we do blah, 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 blah. One of the biggest challenges for me since this Dan Crown came out is I talk a little bit funny because now air comes out where air didn't used to come out, and it's been really weird. Not to mention eating's been a pain in the ass too. Not to mention I look like a Canadian hockey player. So I'm looking forward to getting that damn thing done. So best well wishes to you, Tom, for your implants. I'm nervous about just getting the one. I can't imagine getting 6. Best of luck to you, man. Get through it, dude. All right. Final question or comment of the day comes to us from Kyle Brackman, who writes, Happy July 4th. Thank you so much, Kyle. Appreciate that. And happy 4th of July to all of you guys. I hope you have a great, wonderful day. I've actually got family over right now. They're all downstairs waiting for me. I said, I got to go do open mic. So I came up here and did this. So I'm going to go join them now and have a good time with them, me and my family, my dogs, all that kind of stuff. I hope you guys have a tremendous, wonderful evening tonight. Stay safe. Have fun. And guys, we'll see you back again tomorrow morning for the John Campea Show. 8:30 in the morning. We'll be back, of course. So come back and meet me then. That'll do it for me for now, guys. Guys, I appreciate you all. Thank you so much for being here, and I'll talk to you tomorrow. Bye-bye.